Hello and welcome to Tuesday evening yoga with Phil. As always, your practice is at your own risk, so take care, be aware of how your body's feeling today, taking lighter options where that's right for you, even missing things out if there's anything that your body doesn't need today. So coming to lie down on your mat, taking a good or relaxing posture, so that might be Shavasana, feet out to the corners of the mat, hands away from your body, palms turned up. If, especially at this early part of your class, any discomfort in your lower back, then take a bend of your knees. And then making sure you're truly relaxing, so making sure that your hips relax down against the ground, your shoulders especially, as you let your shoulders relax, you may release some tension there, allowing your fingers just to naturally curl, allowing your feet to relax out to the side. Just taking 2 or 3 breaths there, and as you take them, being aware of the movement in your body as you inhale and the movement in your body as you exhale. To start us moving and warming tonight, we're going to take a sequence of moves. I'm going to walk through the sequence a couple of times. Key is aligning the movements with the breath. As you do that, it makes the practice really mindful, helping you to be connected, mind, body and breath for the rest of the class. So bring your feet together, bring your hands by your side, palms turned down. Then when you're ready, as you next inhale, take your arms up and overhead. As you next exhale, bring your right knee in and your arms come back over to hug your knees. You brought the action to the middle of the mat. Then as you inhale, let your leg go, let your hands come to the side as you straighten your leg up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, lower the leg down. Beginning again on the other side, inhaling, arms up and over. So action at the top. As you exhale, hands come in, knee comes in, hug your knee in towards your chest. Inhaling, foot lifts, so straightening your leg as much as you can, your hands come down to your side. Exhale, lowering your leg to the ground. And then keeping that going with your own breath. Arms up and over on the inhale. Exhaling, knee. Actually, I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to let you do it. So as you get warmer, you can hug your knee in closer, straighten your legs straighter. Seeing if you can keep that alignment with the breath. By now you might have forgotten exactly what breath goes with which, but don't worry, as long as you're moving and as long as you're aligning something to the breath, this will be doing what it needs to do. Then if you want to have a bit of extra challenge, you could take both arms overhead and then bring both knees in. If you do that, when you straighten both legs, make sure you draw your navel to your spine as you lower your legs to the ground. As soon as you lift both legs, then your core gets involved. And so you want your navel drawing down so your core is strong and stable. So taking one more cycle. And when your legs land down, let your feet relax apart, turn your palms to face up, And taken 2 or 3 breaths of relaxation before we stand for our sun salutations. Bringing your feet together, taking your arms up overhead with your hands interlaced if that's comfortable to your shoulders, pressing your arms back and your toes forward, stretching out as long as you can. So how big can you make the distance from the tips of your toes to your hands? Then as you next exhale, release the stretch, hands over by your side, coming up to sitting, and then lifting yourself from sitting up to standing. Preparing yourself for sun salutations, coming to the top of your mat. Bringing your feet together as always. And then once your feet are together, let your hands relax. Press your feet down into the mat as the crown of your head lifts up to the ceiling. Stretching long, just as we did when we were lying down. Shoulders relaxing. Rib cage just tilting up slightly towards the ceiling. We're going to do 2 rounds, I think, tonight, given the temperature out there. First one nice and slow. As we'll take a couple of breaths first. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, bringing your palms together at the center of your chest. Lifting your elbows, pressing your palms tightly. Then reaching your arms up, looking between your hands. Lift your arms higher to the ceiling and then take your arms back to lead your rib cage tilting higher. From your hips, stretch forward and then come down. Keep your hands lifted so they control your descent. When you need to though, let your hands drift to the ground, bend your knees, relax your upper body, head hangs heavy. So everything in the upper body relaxes down. Feet are pressing down into the mat. Just maybe seeing if you can tilt your tailbone up to the ceiling a little. Taking your right foot all the way back. Lowering your knee, placing the top of your foot flat on the ground. Lifting your gaze, easing your hips forward and down, so they're heading towards the front edge of your mat. Tucking your right toes under, send your left foot back, coming into a plank. In plank, your hands are pressing firmly down, your toes are pressing down. And as they press down, you can then ease your body strongly up, but keeping your hips level with your spine. So drawing your navel to your spine, lifting your knees, keeping your heels pressing away so you stretch out long. Lowering your knees, bringing your chest down to the mat, keeping a little lift in your hips. Chin touches the ground, or your forehead if it will easily reach. Then press yourself forward as you lift your face and lift your chest. So it's a feel of rolling forward and up, shoulder blades ease back, elbows coming close. Tucking your toes under, lifting your hips and taking them up towards the ceiling in down face dog. You can take them back to your heels first or lift them up directly. In down face dog, hands press firmly down, heels press firmly down, hips lift up towards the ceiling. As you do those things, you'll feel a little bit of a movement of your chest towards your knees. You can strengthen that by pushing your hands away from you against the mat. They don't move against it. That'll help your chest ease to your knees, help your armpits descend to the mat. Looking between your hands, bringing your right foot through, lowering your left knee. Lifting your gaze, easing your hips down and forwards. Just bringing your left foot through. Relax here in your forward fold, feet pressing down, head, chest relaxing to the ground. And lead up with your arms, reaching up. Your arms take you towards the ceiling, looking between your hands, and hands come down. Inhale. Exhale, palms pressed together. Reaching and stretching your arms up and back. So abdomen's heading directly forwards to the wall in front. It's only your rib cage that tilts up. So picture the bottom of your rib cage, allowing that to lift up. Taking the point right in the center of your shoulder blades, seeing if you can ease that forward a little. from your hips, stretching forward and all the way down. Knees bent as much as you need. Fingertips are in line with your toes. Everything relaxing towards the ground in the upper body. But legs active, so feet pressing down, tilting your tailbone to the ceiling. Left leg all the way back. Lowering your knee, lifting your gaze. Tucking your left toes under, sending your right foot back. Finding strength in your plank. So applying a bit of core, navel to spine, heels push away, shoulder blades ease down your back, pressing the ground away from you. If you're feeling strong from here, you can take your elbows back to lower, or knees followed by your chest, or a bit of a combination of both. Pressing forward, lifting your face and lifting your chest, shoulder blades ease back, elbows in close. Tucking your toes under, lifting your hips down, face dog. Hands forward and down, heels pressed to the ground, hips lift. Seeing if you can take your armpits back and lower to the ground by pressing your hands forward, heels pressing down, tilting your tailbone to the ceiling, stretching your legs out that little bit more. Looking between your hands, left foot through, right knee comes down. Relaxing for a moment, hips easing to the ground. Right foot through, forward fold. Everything hanging heavy, neck muscles relaxed. Then reaching up with your arms, looking between your hands, tilting your rib cage to the ceiling, and hands come down. Inhale, exhale. So let's take one more round. I'm just going to adjust my camera. Flowing this time with the breath. Feet together, crown of your head lifting. Rest breath to begin. Inhale, exhale, palms pressed together. Inhaling, reaching and stretching up and back. Exhale, forward and down, fingertips coming into line with your toes. Inhale, right leg all the way back, knee down, lift your gaze. Hold your breath, left foot back. Come into plank. Heels press away behind you to lengthen you out. Exhale as you lower. Inhale, face and chest lifts. Exhale, toes tuck, hips lift. Heels press down, hands press forward. Inhale, right foot through, left knee down. Lift your gaze, relax your hips. Exhale, left foot through, forward fold. Inhaling, stretching and reaching up and back. Exhale, hands down. Final side. It's very warm for this. Inhale, exhale, palms push together. Inhale, reaching and stretching up. Really feeling a stretch at your armpits. Exhale, forward and down. Fingertips touching the mat. Inhale, left leg back, knee down. Lifting your gaze, ease your hips forward, hold your breath, right foot back, coming into your plank, shoulder blades easing down your back, exhale to lower. Inhale, rolling forward, lifting your face and chest to cobra. Exhale, toes tucking under, hips lift on high, hands press firmly into the mat. Inhale, left foot through, right knee comes down, lift your gaze. Exhale, right foot through, forward fold. Inhaling, reaching and stretching up and then back. Exhale, hands down. Taking your feet apart, pointing your hands forward. Couple of breaths here. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Wonderful. Coming then to lie on your mat. Stretching out, taking Shavasana pose. And once you're there, keep your attention on your breath. Just noticing it's slow back down to resting rate. Bringing your feet together, reaching your arms up overhead, interlacing your fingers if that works for you, stretching long. And when you think you're really stretching long, stretch your arms back further, stretch your toes further forward. Release, hands by your side, bring yourself up to sitting. So we're going to go straight into our core posture. And for our core posture, we're going to take Navasana, the boat pose, which is a great core posture because it works the core, but it also lets you really see the progress you have made with your core strength. To prepare for Navasana, bring your hands behind you. Have your knees bent and the soles of your feet flat on the ground. So your arms are nice and straight behind you, fingertips pointing towards you. Although if that isn't comfortable for we're not going to take much weight onto the wrists. If that's not comfortable, you could have them out to the side or pointing away from you. Key to Navasana is a really strong upper body. So to strengthen, press your hands down and lift your chest. Draw your navel in a little bit towards your spine. So you're lengthening as much as you can from the top of your pubis all the way up to the rib cage. Then you might just want to apply a root lock. So it's Uddiyana Mula Bandha, which is where if you were to stop yourself midstream going to the loo, you would apply Mula Bandha. So if you just apply that locks the energy in. From there, lift your toes away from the ground, sitting back a little more so that you're coming onto the triangle formed from your two sitting bones and your coccyx. Just re-strengthen, so navel drawing in, lifting your chest, so lengthen the front of your body, and then lift your feet away from the ground. Just get them lifted up, keeping your chest lifting so you're lengthening the front of your body. If that's feeling okay, you could then lift your shins, making them parallel with the ceiling. Keeping your navel drawing in, keeping your upper body lengthened, making sure that you haven't come too much onto the coccyx. You want to have some weight on the sitting bones. And then if you want to take this further, you could bring your hands either side of your legs, keeping your navel drawing in, keeping that lengthening in your upper body, keeping Mula Bandha locked on. And then lowering your feet, relaxing over your legs, and taking a breath or two there. Very good. Nice to see everybody got a good lift off. If you wanted to give yourself more control for the next time we take this, you could take a belt around your feet, and that does give you more control and makes it just a little less strong. Preparing for round number 2, hands behind you, pressing into the ground, unless you're taking the belt around your foot. So pressing your hands down, arms straight, chest lifting, lengthening the front of your body, drawing your navel to your spine, putting on the root lock. When you're ready, lifting your toes, coming back onto that triangle, and then lifting your feet away from the mat. So don't rush here to lift your feet any higher. Keep your navel drawing in, let yourself stabilise, and then when you're ready, bring your shins parallel to the ceiling. If that's feeling stable, bring your hands either side of your legs. Keeping your navel drawing in, keeping the root lock locked. And if you want more, you could then straighten your legs, bringing your toes into your line of sight. Stretching your hands forward, allowing your back to broaden, keeping your navel drawing in, ignoring the shaking. Taking one more good breath, because I assume everyone is still breathing nicely. And then bending your knees, bringing yourself back up and taking a relax down. Fantastic. Very nice. Good core strength there. That posture does build a little bit of heat, as you can tell. So we're going to take our shoulder stand next, which is a more cooling posture. So come to lying down. Before we take shoulder stand, just take a moment there. Come to Shavasana, feet out to the corners of the mat, hands away from your body. Maybe just taking a little bit of a rock of your hips side to side. Then when you're ready, preparing for shoulder stand. If you have high blood pressure, rather than taking shoulder stand, you could lift your legs, maybe placing your hips on a block or a cushion. And if you have your legs lifted, just holding there with your legs elevated. Otherwise, if you're taking shoulder stand, bringing your arms in very close, with your elbows coming in even closer. From there, when you're ready, lifting your legs, maybe with your knees bent if you find that works better, and then lifting your hips. Once your hips are lifted, bringing your hands onto your lower back. So your palms are firmly against your lower back. And then just taking a moment there to let it settle and then see how this feels. If you've come up and it's not feeling right, then you can come down and come back up. As always, to come down, one hand to the ground, followed by the other, draping your spine back down. Then from your shoulder stand, the first thing I want to do really to improve it is just to make sure it's an active shoulder stand. It's very easy to come up and then allow everything to be loose, and that actually makes it harder and to hold. So things that you can do are maybe press your upper arms and shoulders downwards into the ground, so you're activating your base. Maybe flexing your feet, pressing your heels away so that your legs become active and strong. And then choosing if you want to maybe lift your knees away from you, taking your buttocks more into your hands. Or maybe for you, you prefer to bring your knees closer to you, feeding your back up through your hands. Finding what makes your shoulder stand the most effortless. Allowing your hips to rest into your hands. So some of the weight is going down your hands through your wrists, arms to your elbows. So you can hold here or come down at any time. If you want to take the pose of tranquility, you could take your hips back to the wall that's above your head, taking one hand then the other onto the mat. If you've got some control there and that is very stable, you could bring one hand around and place it on a shin. If you've got one hand and that feels stable, you could bring the other hand around, or you could take the first hand back and swap it for the other hand. If you've got your shins resting on your hands, then make sure your arms are straight and your legs, the weight of them is just resting naturally onto your straight arms. Making sure that you've not got too much weight coming onto your neck. So you might want to lower your back down slightly, not so that you roll out, but just so that you do have the full upper back in contact with the ground. If you wanted to take one final step here and your hamstrings allow, you could maybe reach and take a hold of your toes. Then when you're ready, taking your hands back onto your lower back, one hand at a time. Bring your shoulder stand back into balance. And then preparing to descend, one hand to the ground, palm turned down, followed by the other, slowly lowering your back down to the ground with complete control. Stretching your legs out, allowing your feet to relax apart, turning your palms to face up, letting your shoulders relax, letting everything relax. And then from there, we're going to take Matsyasana, the fish pose. Bending your knees, bringing your feet in towards you, lifting your hips, bringing your hands underneath your hips so your thumbs, if they will reach, come together. Pressing your hands down towards your feet so your arms are as straight as you can make them. Then bringing your hips down onto your hands. You'll probably find you're sitting somewhere along your wrists. Stretching both legs out. Pressing your heels away, pressing your hands down pressing your arms down into the ground. We'll take this in 2 steps. The first step is to press your upper arms, so from your shoulders to your elbows down into the ground. As they press down, you'll maybe start to feel your chest lifting, so allow that to happen a bit more. Press your shoulders down more firmly, lifting your upper back away from the ground. It may not lift off the ground, but it's just starting to dome away from it. Then turn your attention to your lower arms. So now pressing your forearms and your elbows into the ground and letting your elbows bend. As your elbows bend, your upper back will lift right off the mat. Feeling your hands pressing firmly down into your buttocks pressing firmly down into your hands. And then once you've lifted as high as you can, so your elbows are as bent as you can make them, you can take your head back either just a little bit, so you then rest the back of your head on the ground, or all the way back, so that you can then lower the crown of your head onto the ground. Once you've got contact with the back of your head on the ground, keep your forearms pressing down, keep your elbows pressing down, doming your chest so the centre of your chest heads up towards the ceiling, lifting the upper back as high away from the ground as you can, keeping your shoulders pressing down into the ground as well as your elbows. Then to come out, pressing into your elbows, bending them a little more, lifting your head away from the ground, chin down to your chest, and then take your head and upper body back down to the ground. Release your hands and take a turn of your wrists. Fantastic, those looked excellent. Matsyasanas, fish poses. From there, bringing yourself up to sitting. And as I said before, this is just the perfect posture, because if you think about what you're doing is you're taking everything back, bringing everything forward in a very exaggerated, perfect posture. Let's release the necks. So turning your head to the right, to the centre, and then over to the left, keeping your chin nice and level, to the centre and over to the right, taking it as far right as it will comfortably go, back to the centre, and as far to the left as it will comfortably go, back to the centre. Then get yourself ready to take a forward fold. So you might want to have a block to sit on, and you might also want to have a belt to help you to lever forward. Because in forward folds, we'll maybe fall into one of 2 camps, with some people in between. It may be that your body comes forward, allowing you to reach down close to your ankle and then lever yourself forward, gradually coming into the forward fold. But it equally might be that it's very difficult to get much past this point, in which case you may want to take a bend of your knees, or it'll be one knee in a moment, so that you can then bring yourself past the halfway point, and that will then mean you can gradually relax into the posture. So we're going to take a head to knee pose. So to prepare, bring your left foot in. Sorry Martin, you're all ready, aren't you, for Paschimottanasana? So bring your left foot in, stretch your right leg away from you. Taking your hands behind you, just pressing your left knee down, lifting your chest. And then what you might like to do to give yourself more room to fold forward is just take your hand and just scoop whatever's there and just ease that back, draw it back, so that you bring your sitting bones in a firmer contact with your block or with the ground. From there, lift your arms, stretching your arms as high as you can and feeling your chest move forward as you do that. Then as you next exhale, hinge forward from your hips. Keep your arms lifted, so take this slowly. Keep your arms lifted for as long as you can. Pressing your arms forward, pressing your whole upper body forward. Going for as long as you can, and then when you can reach forward no longer, bring your hands down to find whatever they find. That might be your ankle, it might be your knee. Is everybody seeing Angelique on the screen? No? Are you seeing me? It's me. Yeah, good. Then using your breath so that as you inhale, you ease your upper body towards your toes. And as you exhale, you relax your upper body, so relaxing down towards your legs. If you're feeling like you're still quite upright, increase the bend in your knee, and that will just let you come forward a little bit more. If you've got the belt, you can take the belt around your foot and use that to help you to ease yourself forward on the inhale. If your head is coming close to your knee, then you might want to tap it to the knee so that you know you've got there. But once you've done that, it's good to kind of keep your head lifted and focus more on taking your chest towards your knee. So taking 2 more breaths. Inhale, ease forward. Exhale, relax down. And if you've got a bend in your knee, you might want to see if it will now just press down a little towards the ground, but not to the point of getting discomfort in your lower back. Then preparing to come out, have a look up towards your toes. Stretch your arms out in front of you. Take an exhale, pressing forward, and a big inhale, lifting up. Let your arms lead you upwards. Exhale, lowering your hands. From there, take your right hand onto your right knee. Your left hand behind you onto the ground. Bring it in as close towards your middle of your back as you can. Press your left knee down towards the ground. We're going to bring our weight up onto that left knee. So when you're ready, on an inhale, lift your hips away from the ground. Your weight's coming onto that left lower leg. Once you've got some lift, you can take your right arm around and take it behind you. So you're lifting your hips up to the ceiling, pressing them forward to whatever is in front of you, and then being really aware of what's touching the ground. And those 3 things that are touching the ground, press them more deeply into the ground. So it's your left hand, left leg, right foot, and then start to stretch your fingertips more to the wall that's now behind your head, pressing your right foot firmly into the ground, and a final thrust forward of your hips. As you next exhale, slowly lower your hips. Your hand can come back around to return to your right knee. Stretching your left leg out, and then take a bit of a shake on the halfway point before we do the other side. So bringing your right foot in. If this is strong for your knee, you can have your foot further away, and if that isn't enough lightening, you could have your leg out to the side. So taking your fingertips behind you, sitting up good and straight, lifting your chest. And this is where you might just want, you'll see it better this side, you might just want to kind of scoop whatever's there, not that there'll be much, and then take that back and then sit yourself back down. Then on an inhale, lifting your arms and stretching them up to the ceiling. Stretch as tall as you can. Turn slightly to face your left foot, and when you're ready, slowly start to take your upper body forward towards your left toes. Reaching your hands forward and let them pull you forward. When you've gone as far as you can with your arms lifted, bring your hands down, either to find your belt or to take a hold of wherever you can reach. Then, using your breath, inhale, ease forward, exhale, relaxing down. Maybe taking a bit of a bend in that left knee, if either it's uncomfortable or if that will just let you come a little more towards your toes. Your aim here is to get a good stretch down the back of your leg. If you're feeling discomfort in your lower back, take more of a bend of your left knee. If you feel you're sitting very upright, take a bit more of a bend of that left knee. Inhale forward, exhale, really almost sighing out and letting everything relax. So guiding your chest towards your knee. Taking 2 more breaths. Preparing to come out. Look towards your toes. Stretch your arms forward. Have one more exhale where you press forward with your arms, and a big inhale coming back up. Lifting your arms, then lowering down. Taking your left hand onto your left knee, right hand behind you, in nice and close. As you next inhale, lifting your hips away from the ground. Taking your arm around behind you. Once you've got some lift, press your hips forward, lift them up towards the ceiling, and then press down into your right hand, right leg, and left foot. So that will let you lift everything on the ceiling side of you closer to the ceiling. Pressing down with your left foot, pressing your left fingers in the other direction. So you're stretching as long as you can from left fingertips to left toe. Having one more lift of your hips and press forward. On your next exhale, slowly bring yourself back down, winding your arm around to land back onto your knee. Stretching your right leg out and taking a shake of your legs. From there, coming to lie on your front, ready to do some work for our backs. Once you're lying on your front, place one hand on top of the other to create a pillow and let your either forehead or a cheek rest onto your pillow, whichever feels the most relaxing. You could then also take a bit of a rock of your hips side to side. And bringing that to a halt, taking a couple more breaths here. And preparing for Cobra. Bringing your hands underneath your shoulders so that the tips of your fingers line up to the top of your shoulders. So we always tend to do Cobra. It's a really important posture for stretching, strengthening and bending the back. So bringing your forehead to the mat, your elbows will be lifted off the ground. As you next breathe in, lift your face so you look directly forwards. And then as you next breathe in, start to lift your chest away from the mat. So it's very familiar now. Taking your shoulder blades down your back, bringing your elbows in towards each other. Finding that point right between your shoulder blades and seeing if you can ease that forward a little as your elbows head back. Keeping your breath steady, so not bringing yourself so high that it becomes really strained. Taking one more breath as you exhale, lowering yourself back down. Forehead rests on the ground. We'll take one more Cobra. So this time we'll take our shoulders up and back as well before we lift. So with your forehead on the mat, just take your shoulders up to the ceiling and then down towards your feet. When you next inhale, then lift your face. And as you next inhale, peel your chest away from the mat. Shoulder blades ease back, chest lifting. Your hands should be just light on the ground. And just to show that, take your hands out to the side. Keeping your breath steady, lifting your shoulders, lifting your chest. As you exhale, slowly lower down, bringing your hands underneath your forehead. So there you could be absolutely sure that was your back muscles giving you that lift. And that's what's so great about Cobra. It's strengthening the back muscles as well as giving the spine a bend and a workout. Let's take our attention to the lower back as well. Stretch your hands forward. Let me just And stretch your toes back away from you. So again, making yourself long as you can from fingertip to toe tip. Forehead on the ground. Then as you next inhale, lift your face to look directly forward. As you next inhale, lift your right arm away from the mat. And as you next inhale, lift your left leg away from the mat. So first of all, just get them lifted, about a similar even amount. Stretch your right fingers forward, your left toes back. And then pressing down into your left arm and right leg. See if you can just lift your left leg a little higher. See if you can lift your right arm a little higher. Again, keeping your breath steady. It's very easy to lose the breath at this point, especially when all our weight is resting on our stomachs. One more breath, lifting a little more if you can. And then exhaling, lowering your leg, your arm and your forehead to the ground. When you next inhale, lift your face to look forward. As you next inhale, lift your left arm away from the mat. As you next inhale, lift your right leg. Toes press behind you, fingers press forward, so stretching long. You'll feel your right hip crease pressing into the ground, and that's to be encouraged. Then seeing if you can lift your left arm a little higher, seeing if the armpit in particular can lift. Peeling more of your right thigh away from the ground, pressing down with your right hand and left leg. Keeping your breath going, taking one more breath, lifting a little higher if you can. As you exhale, everything comes back down. Bringing your hands underneath your forehead, resting your forehead or cheek onto your hands. So we'll take both arms and both legs. And we'll follow that with Dhanurasana, the bow pose. If both arms, both legs is stronger than you need, then you could take one leg, one arm like we just did. We're going to do two things so you'll get a chance to even up. So taking your arms forward, I'm going to give instructions for both arms. Forehead on the mat, arms stretched forward. As you next inhale, lifting your face. So you're looking directly forward along the floor. When you next inhale, lifting your arms. And when you next inhale, lifting your legs. Both hip creases pressing firmly into the ground, toes pressing back, hands stretching forward. And then just seeing if you can lift your arms and chest a little higher. Seeing if you can lift your legs a little higher. Keep breathing, keep lifting, keep stretching fingers forward and toes back. One more breath, lifting a little as you take it. As you exhale, lowering back down. Bringing your hands underneath your forehead, resting your forehead or a cheek onto your hands. So bow pose next. Bow pose is easier strength-wise for the back because you've got a hold of your ankles, which means you're less dependent on your back muscles to give you the lift. It gives you a stronger back bend. So only take bow pose if it's going to be right for your back. When we come into bow pose, if you're not able to reach your ankles, that's fine. You can send your hands towards your ankles so that you're lifting upper body and lower body, but not necessarily having a hold of your ankles. So just to prepare, stretch your arms nice and long. You could have held there, Martin, but don't worry, we'll come back into it. Stretch your arms long, stretch your toes away from you, chin or forehead on the mat. Bend your knees, bringing your heels in close, pressing your hip creases down to bring them a bit closer. Then lifting your arms, lifting your chest and reaching your arms all the way around, lifting your chest to help you to catch a hold of your ankles. Once you've got a hold, or if you haven't got a hold, just have your arms pointing towards your ankles. You can then lift your head a little higher and then see if your knees can lift a little. So your chest's lifting, your knees lifting, hip creases pressing firmly down, shoulders lifting, and then maybe pressing your ankles into your hands to allow you to lift your knees a little higher. And that will pull your chest a little higher as well. Taking one more good breath, lifting chest and knees as you take it, And as you next exhale, lowering down, releasing ankles, bringing forehead onto hands, and taking rest. Or cheek onto hands. Wonderful. Well, that's really nice to see a full set of bow poses with everybody who's here live. Hopefully if you're watching the video, you'll have been there as well, if that was right for your back. Bringing your hands underneath your shoulders and coming up to hands and knees. So we'll take a little bit of cat-cow to ease the back out. Wrists are under your shoulders, knees are directly underneath your hips, feet, knees, hip distance apart. Coming first to cow. So tilting your tailbone up to the ceiling, lifting your head to the ceiling and relaxing your abdomen down to the ground. So your back dips down. Then as you exhale next, tuck your head under, tuck your tailbone under, let your back lift high to the ceiling. So hands and knees are pressing down. The high point of your back is lifting up. And then take those in your own time with your own breath. As you inhale, lift your head and tailbone, back dips down, cow. As you exhale, head tucks under, tailbone tucks under, back arches up into cat. Next time you're in cat, hold cat for a moment, pressing firmly down with your hands, your knees, your feet, arching your back a little higher to the ceiling, and then you release. Sit your hips down towards your heels. So bring your hips as close to your heels as you can, and then once your hips are close to your heels, then bring your forehead down to the ground. And if bringing your forehead to the ground makes you have to lift your heels, you could take something under your forehead so your forehead is relaxing and resting on something with your hips still close to your heels. That could be a block, or it could be resting on fists that you make with your hands. Then adjusting your child's pose. So that might mean taking your knees apart, it might mean moving your hands down by your feet or onto your lower back. So just making it as relaxing and as comfortable as you can. And it's a bit of personal taste here, whether you like to have your knees open or closed or your hands in front or behind. Taking 2 good deep breaths, allowing your shoulders to relax down to the ground on each exhale. Bringing your hands underneath your shoulders, pressing into your hands to come upright, and coming to sit with your legs stretched out, ready to take a twist. The twist will be the final step of easing out the back. So you may still have a bit of residual ache in the back from our back lifts. This should finish and sort out the last bit. It's fine to sit on a block here if you want to. So sitting upright isn't easy. Do sit on a block. When you're ready, bring your right foot over across your left leg. Bring your footing as close as you can. Draw your knee to your chest, but more importantly, lift your chest up and bring it forward towards that knee. So you're bringing yourself upright and straight. Then take your left arm out to the side, taking it back, and then bring it back around with a nice bit of momentum so you can hug your arm right around that leg, if possible, so that your knee is coming into the crook of your elbow. If you don't get that the first time, you might want to take another one. It won't necessarily work out for you, but if you're able to get as good a grip around that leg, that knee as you can. with your left arm. Taking your right hand behind you, fingertips pressing firmly into the ground. Still drawing your knee in towards you, and as your knee draws in, you might be able to bring your chest closer to the knee. As you next exhale, start to take your body around to the right. So you're taking your chest around to the right, taking your right shoulder back, and turning your gaze to look over your right shoulder with your chin nice and level. And then three things will allow you just to deepen this. One is with your right hand, that's behind you, pressing that a little bit forward, so to the right, might help to lever you round. As will with your left arm, taking that towards the left. So you're drawing your knee back, and that might just help you to take your chest round a touch more. Using your next couple of breaths, so as you inhale, you press into your backhand and straighten. And as you exhale, you see if you can lever yourself round a little bit more. Then as you next exhale, relax and release, bringing yourself back around to the front. Straightening your right leg, feeling free to have a shake on the way, and bringing your left foot then right up alongside your right, the outside of your right leg. Pulling your knee into your chest, lifting your chest up and towards your knee. Taking your right arm out to the side, reaching back and then bringing it around with a bit of momentum to take a firm hug around your left leg. Draw the knee in close, take your left hand behind you, fingertips pressing into the ground, lifting your chest up and towards your knee still. When you next exhale, slowly start taking your chest around to the left. Taking your shoulder back, taking your gaze over your left shoulder. And then once again, your left fingers won't move against the ground, but take them towards the left. So move them forward, taking your right arm to the right, pulling your knee back. And that will help to lever you round. Then taking your left shoulder into the space that's behind it. Taking a couple of breaths. Inhale, pressing into the backhand, straightening, exhaling, easing yourself round a millimetre or two more. Noticing you've got some stretch going on in your left glute. That's your left piriformis stretching. Take one more breath. And then when you breathe out, release, relax, bring yourself back to face the front. Stretching your left leg out and having a shake of your legs. So we're going to then come to standing. We're going to do triangle, and we're going to do a balance that we haven't done in this class before. We're going to take half moon. So bring yourself to standing. When we come to do half moon, if you have a brick or a block, have that to hand. It's not essential, but if you have one, it can be useful. Brick would be preferable to a block if you have one. So yes, that'll be fine, Angelique. That will be perfect. Because that's a nice bricky block. So if you've got a brick or a block, then place it on by your right foot. Take your legs nice and wide with your hands on your hips. Brick or block by your right foot, entirely optional. So feet good and wide. They don't have to be to your absolute max. Turning your left foot in and your right foot out. Once you've done that, bring your hips back around so you're facing to the long edge of your mat as much as you can. Starting with triangle. Lifting your left hand up towards the ceiling. Stretching and reaching up with the left hand, pressing firmly down into all four corners of the left foot. So the big toe side, little toe side, left of the heel, right of the heel. Pressing firmly down, reaching up with the left hand, taking your right hand onto your right thigh. And then keep that upward lift of the left arm as you exhale and start hinging to the right. Keeping your left shoulder easing to the wall behind you rather than coming forward. letting your arm drift down as low as you can. Then starting to press your fingertips towards the wall on your right. That might bring you down a little bit further, and then take a couple of breaths. On the inhale, press your fingertips to the right. On the exhale, relax down a little more to the right-hand side. As you next inhale, bring yourself back up. Exhaling, lower your left hand. Hands on hips. Keeping your feet where they are just for a moment. We'll take a breath there. Let your shoulders relax back. And then preparing for half moon, our balance. Take your arms wide. Stretching your hands as wide as you can. Then take your shoulders to the right. Maybe taking your hips a little to the left. So you're hinging and tilting down. Then windmill, so take your left arm up and your right arm comes down. Once you've windmilled as far as you can, bring your left hand onto your hip and look down at your front foot. Bend your right knee. Step your left foot in a little until it's come in enough so that you can then either take your hand onto your block or let your hand relax down towards the ground. You can then start to lift your left leg up behind you. Just bringing your left leg as high as your balance allows. Right hand's firmly on the block or brick if you've got it, or relaxing down towards the ground. You might be able to touch the ground with your fingers. Lifting that back leg as high as your balance allows, pressing your left heel away. And then maybe just opening your left elbow up to the ceiling, taking a turn so that your left shoulder's heading towards the wall behind you. If you're feeling balanced, you can maybe lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Right leg firmly pressing down. Then bringing your left hand back onto your hip if you lifted it. Bending your right knee so that you can land your left foot down behind you. Inhaling, lifting back up. And then hands on hips, feet face forward. If you've got a brick or a block, take it over by the left foot. Hands on hips, feet face forward, ready to go on the other side. Turn your right foot in and your left foot out. Steer your hips back to face forward. Lift your right arm towards the ceiling. Stretch tall through the right arm, pressing the right foot, all four corners firmly into the ground. Left hand on left thigh. As you next exhale, hinge over to the right. Keep the uplift of the right arm, to the left, sorry. Keep the uplift of the right arm. Keep your right shoulder easing back. So this is the bend of the spine we're getting here. Coming down as far as you can to the left, then starting to press your right fingers to the left. Using your next couple of breaths, inhale, fingers to the left. Exhale, relaxing down to the left. One more breath. On a big inhale, lift yourself back up. Exhale, lower your right hand. Hands on hips. We'll have a breath there. And then preparing for half moon. Hands out to the side. Stretch your arms good and wide. Take your shoulders over to the left with your hips heading a little bit over to the right. So you're coming onto a bit of a diagonal. Then turning down to look at your block or your left foot. Bending your left knee. Oh no, sorry. So straighten your legs. I knew something was missing. Arms nice and wide, legs are straight, hinge tilting over to the left, and then windmill down. So your left arm lowers, your right arm lifts. Then look down to your left foot. Take your right hand onto your hip. Bend your left knee so that you can bring your hand down to your block or to just hang in space. Step your right foot in. Once it's come in enough that you can lift it, lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. Just taking it as high as your balance allows. Once your leg's as high as your balance will allow, just hold for a second. And if it feels right, you can take your right shoulder up towards the ceiling a little. So that's just tilting around, using the brick if you've got one to hold your weight, or just having your hands resting down to the ground, maybe touching the ground with your fingers. And if you've got enough stability, you could take your right arm up towards the ceiling. Pressing your right heel away. Bringing your hand then back onto your hip. Bending your left knee so you can land your right leg back down. On an inhale, lifting up. Hands on hips, feet face forward. Heel toeing your feet back together. And taking a shake of your legs. Well done, that was looking good. Bit wobbly is half moon at first. It's a very different balance to some of the others that we've done. So we'll try and do it again before too long so we get another chance. With that, it's time for final relaxation. So bring yourself to lying down, taking anything that you want to put behind your head. Feet out to the corners of your mat, hands away from your body, palms turned up. Letting everything rest. Just being aware of your next 2 or 3 out breaths. Allowing them to relax your body towards the ground. As your muscles relax on the out breath, the contact connection to the ground becomes firmer. The firmer the connection to the ground, the more easy it is to let yourself go. Physically and mentally. Keeping your body still, slowly bring your awareness back. Just having that awareness of you lying on the ground, feeling the connection with your body and the floor. Then take a wriggle of your fingers and toes to bring some movement back. Bringing your legs together, taking your arms up overhead for a final stretch out. Toes press forward as your hands press back. Releasing that stretch, bending your knees, bringing one knee then the other onto your chest. Arms can come around to hug your knees in. And then you can take a rock. Bringing that rocking to a halt, drawing your knees to your chest, lifting your head towards your knees. And then release. Bring your feet to the ground, head back to the ground. From there, maybe coming via the right hand side for a breath or two, slowly returning to sitting. Wonderful. Thank you for joining me, whether you've joined me live or watching the video. It's always good to see you. Thank you. Namaste.